welcome back. Do you ever feel that your prints are just missing that little spark? Maybe gesture, energy, boldness, things that come quite easily with painting but not so easily when you're in a pre-planned print. Well, in this video I'm going to show you simple, effective ways to create gesture, expressive marks and boldness in your prints, right from the home print studio. And stick around to the end because I'm going to show you some of the tools that I use to make those unique marks, and most of them you can find just around the house as well. I'm Ruth and I make videos from my tiny shed studio in Bristol, UK, and they're all about hand printing, so helping artists to deepen their practice through hand printing at home. If you want to join my email list, please do. You get inspiration, you get all my content, all sorts of interesting things every month straight to your inbox. Plus you get my free guide, How to be a Rebel Printmaker, 5 rules you need to break to make your best work on paper. So just join via the link in the description below. I've got a 10-week course coming up. It's going to be self-led course with a bit of live stuff as well. It's going to be all about how to hand print, right from setting up your print studio, loosening up your practice and your process with Monoprint, all the way through to printing plates at home, mixing and matching, doing some more intentional prints, and then getting it all together, integrating it into your own practice and making some really beautiful finished pieces as well. So that's happening in May. It's going to be called Hand Printing Happiness. If you're really interested in that, then do join the waitlist. Again, the link is in the description. Right, let's get printing. So I've got some prints here that I don't like very much, basically. I'm not quite sure what to do with. So I'm going to just work on those, see if I can get some nice gestural marks onto them that will change them and transform them. And I've got some pre-mixed colours here. These are my little foil parcels that I make if I've got a bit too much ink and I want to save it for another time. So these I'd actually mixed a while ago, but this is oil paint, and I've got a darker colour here and some lighter ones. So I'm going to see if I can get some nice gestural marks here. So first off, I'm just going to show you what I call painterly printing. So it's basically, so a lot of what I do is I'm rolling ink out. With this technique, I'm not rolling, I'm just sort of almost painting the ink onto the surface. And I'm trying to make a sort of pink cloud here. So this is very much like painting, and you can really get some expressive marks. The reason I often don't suggest people do this straight away when they're learning to print is because it involves using a lot of ink or paint, and you can sometimes sort of oversaturate your paper. It's also not very controllable, as you can see. Now, some of this will not print onto the paper. The bits with lots of ink on will, and they will kind of smudge a bit as well, which I quite like. But again, when you're just beginning, sometimes that can be a bit disconcerting. I'm just going to get rid of that bit there. So I can see that some of this is going to smudge and kind of smudge on the page a bit here. So I'm just taking a little bit off. But that's essentially all I've done. And you could do, obviously you can do anything you like. I tend to use a piece of card. I like to use that to just paint the ink on, basically. I'm going to try and put it here, and I'm going to try and do that by eye. Possibly not a great idea, but let's have a go. So I'm just going to line the paper up here. I want this pink to cover that sort of top dark area. Let's try that. And I'm going to use my Baron to print that. Now, there's a lot of ink on here, so it won't print like thin rolled out ink. It'll probably do some funny things. Ooh, okay. Right, I'm quite liking that. So we've got this lovely expressive whoosh, this energy, this movement, and I like the colour as well with those. So probably a bit more to do on that print, but a nice way to get expression and painterliness into a print. So next thing I'm going to show you is making marks, expressive marks, into your ink or paint before you print. So I'm just going to roll some of this nice purple out. Okay. I'm rolling it out fairly thick. I would normally clean off the previous colour, but I just thought actually it might work quite well. Okay. So I want to cover up actually the majority of this print. I don't really like it. But what I might do is keep this middle area and a bit of this bottom bit. So wherever I take ink off here, that's going to show through. So I'm just going to kind of hold it. So I kind of want... I want that there. And I'm going to do a nice kind of, yeah, that's nice. Yeah. So where I've taken the ink off is going to show through. Obviously, if you were just doing this straight onto a piece of white paper as your first layer, then that would also just show white. I'm just wondering whether to, yeah, I might just leave it as that actually. We could add, this is a chopstick here, just some line work as well, just taking that ink off. So you can see that you can just be very energetic, quite spontaneous, and you get that movement and energy in the ink before you even take a print. So I'm going to line this up again by eye. You can, of course, be a bit more precise about this and do registration marks, but as you might have gathered by now, I'm not a big fan of registration marks. I'm just going to... Okay, let's try that. Okay, I think we're going to get a few splurges on this as well. Splodges and splurges, yeah, there we go. Right. So you might not be able to see the expression so well actually because the black is coming through, but definitely there's some movement, there's some energy in there, and I will do a bit more work on that, and I'll probably crop the whole thing down as well. So that's one way of getting expression and energy into a piece. And last but not least, the other way that I often get some movement and boldness into a piece is by pushing, mark making essentially, onto the back of the paper to take the ink off in that way. But I'm only putting some more ink onto this bottom corner because I'm going to do some mark making on this corner. So with printmaking, of course, everything is flipped horizontally. So where I want ink there, I'm going to have to, you can see that when I put it down, I'm going to have to make the marks on that side. Okay, so I'm going to use my trusty knife handle here. And again, quite free, quite spontaneous. Just see how that's come out. Woo! Right. Wow. Movement, boldness, drawing, painterly line, velvety line. So yeah, and how long did that take? Not very long at all. So yeah, that is my final way that I get gesture into a piece. And while we're here and we've still got ink on there, I'm just going to take what's called a ghost print from here. And this should be the negative of what I've just done. And it's great for collage fodder. And I just take ghost prints as I go along. That's a bit difficult for you to see, isn't it? There we go. You can see that a little bit better. Really nice negative line. Actually, this has come out rather nicely as well. So that's great for collage. So keep that, let that dry and keep that. So I said I'd show you some of the tools that I use to make my marks in the home studio. So here goes. Most of these I've just found in the kitchen or around about the house. I'm really into just using these chopsticks that come with takeaways and stuff, and you could either use them still together like that to make a sort of quite a large flat line, or you could take them apart or you could actually use those the two ends together. That's quite nice double line that you can get. or take them apart and just use them like a drawing tool basically. So that's all you'd be doing with those. And these also you tend to get with takeaways or from cafes, and again just these little wooden, you can manipulate ink with those, you can push onto the back of paper, and you get some nice marks with those as well. My go-to very often is I have this knife in the studio, so I tend to use the sharper end. It's not too sharp, this knife, by the way, otherwise it would rip the paper, but sharp end for really, really thin marks, and the handle end for some thicker marks. Again, line, really they're for line marks. Thicker marks, I have lots of scrap of mount board here, but any card would do. Thick, thin, medium, and just scraping and pushing the ink around. They're great for that, and they can be really expressive as well. So just keep any, like raid the recycling box or keep any card that you've got, great for just pushing ink around and making marks. And another one that's great for pushing ink around is one of these like spatulas, really flexible, and you can just push ink around. You get these really big bold marks when you use that. Either pushing the ink around or pushing into the back of a piece of paper onto ink. And of course you can use kitchen towel or rag. These make really, really soft blended graduated marks when you're just taking ink off gently like that. So really nice for those lovely soft marks. They almost can sometimes look like a Japanese woodblock print, that very soft gradation of colour or tone. So I always have some of that in the studio. And last but not least, hands. I often use backs of fingernails. Just the pads of my hands my fingers will make a very soft linear mark, but very, very soft. And of course you can use your fist as well. That's going to make a different mark, or the whole hand, the whole palm, and that's going to make another mark as well, kind of quite chaotic mad marks. So yeah, just have a look around you and you'll suddenly start seeing loads of things that you can make marks with. So I hope that's been inspirational and helped you to maybe let loose a little bit, think about expressive marks in your work and in the home print studio. So don't forget, if you want to join my email list, please do, link in the description below. You'll get monthly inspiration straight to your inbox. And if you're really keen on joining up for my hand printing happiness course that's going to come in May, then do join the waitlist for that. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week.